Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the first guitar lesson on the channel. Today we'll be going over Ecruteak City from Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal, specifically my arrangement from the cover that's also on the channel. Before we get started, I would like to say make sure your guitar's tuned to E standard, and to also grab the tabs that I'll put in the description as well. Well, that will just help with the fretting fingers. I'll still be mentioning the fretting fingers, but I'll just throw in like chord names, so if you're lost with that, then make sure to grab those. And as far as the general difficulty, I think this piece would fall under would be somewhere around intermediate, because for sure if you're a beginner, some of the movements, especially since they go all up and down the neck, it could be a bit much to get used to. But hey, if you're down for it, then go ahead. I ain't stopping you. But anyways, hopefully I'll learn something, and I'll see you in the first part. See ya. Alright, so first we have the intro that leads into section A. First I'll be breaking down each bit of this and every following section first, and then I'll be playing a slowed down version to put it into like a fluid context. And overall, the intro, I could say you could split it up between the holding of one chord and then moving into the melody line that leads into section A. And just the main chord that you'll be holding down is just this idea of C major add 9, where you have the C, E, G, and D. And especially this ring finger and this pinky right here on the third frets on the A and the B string, they're not going to move at all. And the shape you're gonna really want with your right hand is just to have your thumb on the A string, the fifth string, and then everything else on the G, B, and E, or third, second, and first string, right? And you're gonna wanna basically be holding this kind of shape, while the only fingers that are really gonna move while changing are the middle finger and the index finger for melody. So you're gonna want to strike the A string, G, the B string, and the E. And on your right hand, it should be thumb, index, middle, ring. And make sure you're holding out all of these notes, even this E that you're not actually hitting, this second fret D string, because you're gonna want to strum it once you're done hitting this little arpeggio. The same idea applies when you switch over, which changes just by moving the middle finger over to the second fret G string, and then this open E, while your index finger also finishes up that sequence by holding down the first fret, right? So far. And personally, I just kind of hit this just with my ring finger. Don't really do two fingers, depends how you prefer that, honestly. Again, that's strong. And then we're back to the original shape. And then what follows next is the melody line. So enough of that holding the chords down, and we switch to starting off the melody on this third fret B, first fret, second fret G, and then we start hitting two notes at a time, which for me personally, I'll be using the index and middle finger to do on the D and G strings. Open on both strings, right? Fourth fret on the D, second fret on the G, third fret on the D, fourth on the G. Then it ends with this second fret A, this B note, so all together. And then that leads it into the next part. Yeah, so all together, they should sound like this, slowly. So I'll see you on the next section. All right, see ya. All right, so from here on out, I just want to say that basically everything changes pretty frequently. It's not a fast song, you know, compared to a lot of other things, but yeah, things change just about every measure. Your chords change, your patterns on your right hand will change very frequently. So if I ever get long-winded when it comes to explaining things, you know, I apologize, but it's gonna take a bit of explaining how things will change, what you're gonna need to do next, and all of that sort of thing. And if you do find this sort of difficult and do find that you're making mistakes, then don't worry about it. Like, I've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of trial and error just to even make the cover, which was about 4 years ago now. So yeah, don't worry about it too much, it's alright. But yeah, overall this section that we're about to focus on, I'll say can also be broken down into two parts. One that focuses just on these four inner strings, and while these this low E and this high E aren't going to be focused as much. And when we do end up focusing on the low and the high E, you know, I'll let y'all know. Alright, so as far as how we start this section, we're going to want to go back to this idea of this C major add 9 shape that we began with in the intro. And if you've ever played or heard Dust in the Wind, that kind of might have sounded familiar. But just to break down what the next two, the next two chords are going to be based around on the right hand is starting with like this thumb and ring pluck, then following with the index in the middle. That's just how it's going to start for now. And just to give an idea of what this will look like for now, I'll just play it really slowly. And all that was here on the right hand was thumb, ring, index, middle, ring, thumb, ring, index, middle, thumb. And on the left hand, all that's changing is holding down this pinky on the 3rd fret B, and then holding the 1st fret down on the B with the index. That's where that switches on the left hand. Then we switch to the next chord, which is this. I have no idea. To be honest, I keep thinking it might be like a C major 6. Like a D flat major 6 chord. I don't really know what it is theoretically within this piece, but we can talk about that some other day. All this is I'm using the middle finger for this 4th fret on the A, index to hold down these 3rd frets, and the D and the G, and this pinky down here on this 6th fret B string. And the same thing starts it off. Right, thumb, ring, index, middle. And what changes here is this pinky crosses over from the B to the G, same fret still. And then this ring finger occupies the 5th fret on the B. And I'm using my middle and ring finger to hit this G and B at the end. You're gonna want to hold that pinky ring relationship in the left hand down to the next two things, the next two notes played. And then from here we move on to the next chord where, again, like I said at the beginning, things change, where now we have this shape and your right hand will change as well. So we'll be increasingly using more of the index finger to bar down a lot of chords. So your fingers hurt, I'm sorry if you're not used to it, but you know, take your time. We want to roll into this chord by hitting all of these from lowest to highest. Not a simultaneous pluck and nor strum. Well, you kind of could do a strum if you wanted to, but yeah, a roll like an arpeggio roll. And what you're hitting as melody notes kind of starts with this, then the 5th fret G, fret G, and then the center fret D string. And then the tough transition is from this chord, this D minor 9, to this F diminished. And it's a bit, it's kind of tough, but a common movement that you have between these is that you kind of have to hold down this idea of holding down a barred shape with this index finger, because you're going to end up having to use the bar to hold down a note eventually. So that's what I would do. Right, there's where that barred index finger comes into play. Again, start off with rolling into that, and then your pinky kind of just hits this 9 to 8, and then your barred index will deal with that 6th fret on the B. So just all these two chords back to back. Right. And whenever you're hitting like things on one, like this 5th fret twice, and then all of this on the B string, you could alternate, between two fingers to do that. Call me a noob or whatever, but sometimes I just end up getting stuck using one finger just for all of that. So whatever is your preference, and that's fine. And if you made it through that, then congratulations. I think that's the hardest part in the song, probably not including when the thumping comes in, but still, that's pretty difficult in relation to everything else. So congrats. Okay, so now is when we move on to where we lead into using all the other strings on the guitar. So fair warning. And then we move on to using the pinky to hit this. That kind of rolls down by half steps or chromatically, however you like to think of that. And I'm using my ring finger for that while hitting this G. This is technically like the bass note of this little chord. So that goes 8, open G, 9, 10, 7. All of this melody on the high E. Then we're actually going to be using this low E. So from here, you're going to want to switch your positioning on the right hand from this compact shape between the A, D, and the G. A, D, G, and B, to having your thumb on the low E and then your ring on the high E. And this pinky is going to deal with this 10th fret, this middle is going to deal with this 8th fret over here. Open G, you can deal with these middle strings with either the index or the middle. Personally, I'm using the index finger there. Open G, center fret G. And then the index finger deals with this 8th fret over here, and then the center fret on the G. 9th fret on the G. Now, if you notice how my fingers are, or how my wrist kind of rolls, that's kind of want to deal with this kind of shape. Because if you have it straight, then that looks like I'm gonna break my fingers off. You don't want that. Just kind of let it roll. Kind of let your wrist pivot a little bit to deal with that. So again, start off with these low and high. Deal with everything here. Open 7, 9. And then from here it gets broken down more and more. All you have is the low E and the high E. 9 on the low E, 13 on the high E. 13, 12. And then from here we actually just start using like a melody line, just like the intro. And from here I would say start with this kind of pattern with the index index, middle, and ring finger. You don't really want the pinky because when you have to slide, it'll just bump into this, and you don't really want that. It gives a better angle personally. So here we have the 12, 13, 15, slide into this 17th fret. Back here to this 12th. Right, so 12, 13, 15, slide, back to 12. And what you're gonna want is hit 12 twice, 13 twice, so 12 on the E, 13 on the B. You got this 14th on the G. Then you have 12, 13 on the B again. 12 again here. And you slide between the 10th and the 12th on the E. So that little bit together. And as far as coming down in between these high strings, just kind of have my ring on the high E, middle on the B, index on the G, just to kind of keep all of that consistent. Alright, so from here I'll be playing all of that together smoothly, just to kind of give everything context. So here we go. So, and that's it for that section. We'll be moving on to the next one. See you there. Alright, so in this section, not much changes about what I said about things changing frequently, but I will say that, you know, there's any of those kind of like really detailed oriented kind of people that are like, oh, you didn't show me how to do this exactly how you did in a cover. I mean, I'm sorry, cut me some slack. It's been like 4 years since I've really focused on how this was played, to be honest, and I don't really have the video with me, or, you know, to really look back what I did. And to be honest, I would do some things differently now, honestly. But just as far as transparency, then yeah, if there's a few things that seem a little different, I'm sorry, but I'll still try to, you know, get the same general, I guess you would call it a product, the same general idea of how to play it in general. So yeah, don't worry about that. Just as far as that's concerned, I just want to make that clear. So from here where we left off, we go open 3, and then we land on what, this F major 7th chord. Alright, so pluck that all with all your fingers here, well, unless, well, besides the pinky, unless you're into that, I don't know. And then from there we just switch over to a new chord, which is just really the same chord in a different position. And from here it's basically just another F major 7th chord with the A at the bottom. So if you've ever heard of inversions or anything like that, or slash chords, it is really like an F major 7 slash A, or an F major 7 in first inversion. And you're gonna want to land on this chord already placed, you know, with your ring on the 3rd fret D, middle finger on the 2nd fret G, first finger on the B string, on the 1st fret B string, because that's where all the melody is going to be derived from, is just your placement of these fingers. You know, it all just follows down from the lowest to the highest, basically. And then the same position will also affect how you're going to interact back with all the changing notes and stuff. So go from here, playing this low A, this F on the 3rd fret, A on the 2nd fret, followed by this 1st fret B, open E, and then you're gonna have this 3rd fret B, and then this kind of like slide trill, sliding between the 3rd, 4th, and 3rd again. Then again onto the same shape. Open B, and then from here you have all of this is A, F, and A, then this F and the high E string. So just all of that together just to, make things clear in case I was a little long-winded with that. Okay, that does it with that. Then we switch to this middle finger on this E, the 2nd fret D. Make sure it's this middle finger because anything else will mess up the rest of this flow. You'll see what I mean. Because from here on out, a lot of what's going to be changing is this freedom between this pinky and this index finger, and you're going to want these fingers free for all the changing melody notes. So from that last chord we have this shape now, which is basically an E minor chord starting with this G, this 3rd fret E string. This index finger will switch to this 1st fret E, and then open. And if you've noticed by now, then the right hand basically follows whatever notes the left hand is also occupying. So from here we're using from the D upwards, the right hand is also doing the same. All simultaneous. And then what we have here is this kind of like this A minor chord. And again, you're gonna want this pinky index finger freedom because you're going from the 3rd fret first, open first, right? Again, your hand's moving over to what it's occupying, so A, D, G, B. So simultaneous, all of that. First, open, A, open B, first again on the B. Then what we're going to be switching over to this shape over here, occupying the E, A, D, and G. Whereas the 1st fret open, A, 3rd fret D, 2nd fret G. And all that is just plug that shape again with the low F, and then that follows just a little melody. And so we have this 1st fret open, 3rd fret, 1st fret E, open E, 3rd fret B, and then that kind of idea of having that middle finger on the 2nd fret, just like that E minor chord, because anything else would just kind of mess it up. So 2nd fret, open, 1st fret, and this goes from first to open, and you're gonna want that to just, cut off all those notes completely there for dramatic effect. First, 3rd, slide 4th, and then just G major chord. And the way I'm strumming this is I kind of pretend I'm holding a pick, or you can just use your thumb if you feel like it. Then when you're gonna transition into the next one, you strum all of that, and you're gonna want to have your hand ready on these G, B, and E strings, because you're gonna go. There's open G, 5th fret B, 3rd fret E. Yeah, that's why you want it ready. And again to that F major 7th chord we started with, but this time actually it's the same thing. We just immediately change No, I take that back. This time we're holding it because what we're going to be doing is lifting our pinky up to hold this and then let go to just have this open E for the melody. All while using your, in my case, like the middle and ring finger to hit the B and E strings at the same time. You know, because I just like that doubled note sound. Then we go to that other F major 7 shape. Again, a reason why you want these shapes all settled when you move to them in one go. Again, with that pinky index finger relationship, that freedom. Again with that E minor, except this time we're going to be adding this ring finger here for the 3rd fret on the B string. So starts off open, then you add the ring, and then you go between these two 3rd fretted notes. Then you're going to want to keep the pinky here because it's going to slide from the 3rd fret to the 7th to have this E minor add 9 shape. And from here you can either have this A or this low A, but still hold these, strike these other parts of the chord, this two barred 5th frets on the G and the B. It both sounds fine, so it doesn't really matter how you do it. And again, that idea of using your pinky to slide between another note and then your barred index finger holding down this other 5th fret on the E. Then you're going to be using your thumb and index to hit this 7th fret on the D and this 5th fret on the G before transitioning. Keep this barred shape because then you're going to basically just slide all of that into a major chord on this F major instead of just, you know, taking your hand off. And you're adding this middle finger back to make it major instead of, or else you'll have. Sounds nice, a little mysterious, but it's not what we're going for. Okay, so all that part goes 3rd fret E, 1st fret open, so you can just let go of this at the end. Again with that other shape with this middle finger on the B on this 2nd fret A string, pinky on this 3rd fret B. Then it goes open, 1st, 3rd again on the B. And then back to this C major. Whoops. Well, yeah, you're gonna want to thump it, just don't hit the wood like I did. Alright. That's going to lead into the next section where we're going to be adding more thumping into the in-between chords. Alright, so just to put all of that into context, here's that section played together slowly. from here on out, we'll be talking about thumping and all of that. So here we go. Alright, so as far as introducing the thumping goes, it's going to be mostly building off of what we've already talked about with the chords that's been introduced, we've gone over. So as far as moving forward, make sure you have all these chords we've talked about already under your fingers, at least be familiar with where we're going, because it'll just make it easier as far as, you know, adding the right hand rhythmic stuff in there. Yeah, this is mostly going to be rhythm talk, chords. I mean, I'll be saying the chord names. You can refer to the tabs if you need like finger position help. But yeah, I'm not going to really be going over that anymore. So in this section, you know, same thing applies. You can kind of cut it up in different sections. In this case, I guess I'll be going over between the chords that seem to have the most rhythmic similarities. And we're going to be starting off back on this C major add 9 shape as, you know, the first section A. And we're going to be using our right hand to pluck everything at the same time. You're not going to be alternating or anything, and we're going to be also focused on just these 4 middle strings, like always. And as far as where these chords come in, I'll just count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And when the thump comes in, it's going to be on 2 and 4, where there's, you know, that empty space. And it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Make sure you land on these 2 strings is going to be important too. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Then to the next chord, we have just 1 thump. It's going to be landing on 2. 1, 2, and yeah. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and okay, and there's a rhythm for that. Then the next 1, 2, 3. The next 3 chords are going to get a little tricky, and I'm gonna just play it first just to kind of show how it is, and then I'll explain what the difficult parts are. So. Alright, so you notice that I'm going to be explaining this whole hammer-on thing and this pull-off while thumping, and what that is going to revolve around is having your thump be on these low strings, like I said, while you're hammering this on and you're pulling that off. So you're going to really have to work on this independence to do that at the same time and have enough, not strength, you don't need to like really dig in there, but you just need to like have enough dexterity to really like do all of that at the same time. Just take your time, like I always say, take your time, and just to show it really slowly, just to really get that repetition in there so you hear it. Last time where we had that idea of using the barred shake to really help you down, help you out getting those notes out, is the same thing. And the count out for that is 1 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right. 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and oops, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So this time you notice the thumb is on like an upstroke. You know, it's gonna make it really feel weird at first, but like I said, repetition. No real shortcut around it or anything, just repetition. And it's gonna be really important to keep track of where you're counting off, you'll see when I count this off. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Alright, so this time that thumb one lands on a 3. So you're noticing, or you're gonna notice that the thumbs are starting to land on all these different upstrokes, these different parts of the rhythm. So all of that together, it should be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Okay. Got a little tongue tied there. Hold on. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Alright? That's how that goes. I'm gonna play it slowly just to be really sure you get that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's how that goes. And as far as the next section, going into the same thing as last section A. This time we're gonna also be having another hammer-on type of situation. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. We're gonna be hammering on that 7 with the left hand like that. And then from here, instead of going down up here to do all that, we're gonna be going back to this D flat whatever chord. 2, 1, 2, and 4, and that's that same thing as last time. Then from here we just get introduced to a new chord, and then the thumping stops. There's another F major 7 if you remember the other times. It's just another, variation of it. And how that goes, you're going to start with your pinky on the 8th fret, the A, and then your ring finger on the 7th fret of the D, and then your index finger barring the rest on the 5th frets. You're going to want to strum it, then go down. Lift up, have this open B, 5th fret C, open E, and then from here you're gonna have your pinky on the 7th fret G. You're gonna make a power chord and start strumming, and then that's when we start leading into the next section. Alright, and well, it's a new day now. I'm trying to record this since it was getting late last time, but just to clarify about introducing this new version of the F major 7th chord, when you go from this transition to that, even in the cover there's a bit of a slowdown before actually getting to that, so it's not like, right on the, on a regular beat. So, you can take your time to get there, kind of make it some musical with a bit of a slowdown. And right now I'm going to be doing a slowed down count of this whole section with the thumbs. I'm going to be counting downbeats and upbeats, so 1 and 2 and 3, and while trying to play it. So hopefully this clarifies things and how it's all supposed to go in one movement. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 alright. And I added in that just bit of the next section just to kind of clarify that whole last bar, just to keep that consistent. And speaking of, we'll be moving on to that and we'll be wrapping this up. See y'all there. Alright, so for the last section when it comes to this variation, this part of the variation, we have strummed chords while playing a melody. And to be honest, when it comes to this part, I was just kind of going for it at the time. I really wasn't having a metronome. I wasn't counting it in my head. I was just kind of like going for it, because I think even in the cover, when I play like the first chord here, I swear I count like a 3 count instead of a 4 count. It only lasts for 3 beats instead of 4, and it kind of, it's not very consistent. So I feel it's almost unfair if I was like play these chords and strum them exactly like this, because I wasn't even in that kind of mindset at the time. But what I will say is I will try to clarify the chord changes, how the finger positions on the left hand change, and a few tips on how to strum just a few parts, because there's times where you'll be trying to give this idea of a, let's say like a rising melody, like how this goes from, how you kind of want to do that, because it is a bit, I can't just say, to say just do whatever, because there is a specific way to do that in my mind. So it's just specific things I'll be going over to try to make this as clear as possible. So yeah, well, this is kind of just gonna tie in all the way to the end. So this section and the ending and all the variations that come with it. So alright, so we start off all the same, just the same as last section B, where we have this chord, and I kind of do this up and down movement, and then we switch over to this chord where that whole idea of rising melody starts coming in. And obviously you can tell I'm not doing any of this for that. It's just more downstrokes, progressively more and more down the higher strings, to just give that idea of melody. And it's a bit tough if you're not like, really in control of this, and depending also which manner you're strumming the guitar. But overall, what I would say is, if you can, just try to think of it like you're just progressively getting more momentum with your hand, like if you're building up down the string. So, and you're always going to want to try to keep in mind to hit the target notes. Right, you don't want, because then it's just, you kind of lose it. And yeah, I kind of wish I kind of could have made something more clear back then, but I wasn't thinking that far ahead as far as thinking I would teach it, but here we are. But that's just my general the general idea I would give for that. Just strum down, no alternate picking or anything, no up and down, just down the whole way through this. And I would just do that for the rest of it, just just down picking the whole time, let the slide kind of let itself play out with the sliding. And then we move on to the next chord. If you remember, before we just had this middle finger here for this E, this 2nd fret D string, but this time we're actually going to want this sort of shape for a whole E minor chord across the whole 6 strings. And the only difference is your ring finger is going to be in that 2nd fret D, and your middle is going to be on the 2nd fret A. And then the pinky and the index finger is still going to be doing the same work for the melody. And since we're only worrying about the melody here, that's why I'm doing all this up and down stuff now, because it doesn't really, that isn't exactly how I would advise to do that. And I guess this just goes with the rest of the theme of this whole song, whereas it's, every chord it seems like to change, but yeah. For the most part, I do a downstroke whenever it comes to playing those melody notes, so And so that's how I get to strum the whole thing when it actually comes time to playing those melody notes. And then from here, what we can do is just move these two fingers right over, like one string across each, to get to that next A minor-ish type of chord. And once we're here on this chord, this is one of the variations here is gonna show up where instead of, where you can tell like it goes like at least one melody note per beat. Here is gonna be right. And that's gonna be, you know, in some of the chords, you know, I'll explain that each time it comes around. But this is also gonna be part of like how in this case you'll notice I'm also doing up and down, and it comes with like getting the notes to come out with each stroke. Every time I go up and down in between those notes, it strikes it. You know, again, you wouldn't get the same thing if you try to like do some James Hetfield type of down picking for that. Yeah, you don't really want to like work too hard to do that. But I'm just saying that's one of the differences here. Same idea, index finger relationship freedom. And then from here we move over to this shape, where you can just hit these. Try not to do all of that. Sounds cool, but you know, you want to try not to. What you could try to do is maybe lean in a bit, so your middle finger's kind of covering up this B string, but it also doesn't feel all that great personally. So you can just try to aim for these, you know, bottom 4 strings. Then same thing as last time, you let go to do the melody part. Chords and everything as last time. And again, the same idea of downstroke, kind of just do some alternate picking and hit downstroke again when you get to the open B. Again, same, just kind of let that cover up those notes when you hit them. There's only a subtle thing I guess I should explain, is when you finally hit this C major chord, I'm also hitting this, I would call like the body of this chord instead of everything. I'm mostly just hitting like somewhere between the A, D, and G string, just, you know, to keep up the rhythm. And then once the melody should come in, that's when the rest of it comes in, so it should sound something like, you know, once you want that open E string, that's when you really want to do the whole strum across the guitar. This change is a bit fast because you go from trying to hit all the strings, well, except this low E, right? All these strings to just these 3 strings to then these 4 strings, and that isn't very beginner friendly, I would assume. But just let's see, I don't know how else to explain this. This kind of feels how I think of it in my mind, but I feel like there's this sort of relationship between this ring finger and this index finger that kind of translates over here. So in a way, I'm trying to say you want to keep this move between this separation between the 5th string and the 2nd string down to this thing between the B and the E strings. That should kind of get you that pivot between these 2 positions. And then we go back to this F major 7 chord, and that same idea of except now we're strumming and this. Now we're doing the same thing as just like when we were just plucking, where we just raise the pinky for those melody notes. This time we go back to this F major 7 position up here, but this time we can, you can keep alternate picking. And again with that quick thing instead of we have pinky, index finger again. And you kind of want that pinky there before just like letting go for that first fret B, just to kind of, you can hear the difference in the melody changing. Or else you'll have something like, yeah, it is obviously not the same. Kind of want to bar those two again with your index finger, and then we're gonna switch over to a new full E minor chord. And there's a little subtle with how you're gonna want the melody to come out here, because we're still switching between these third frets and between the E and the B string. What happens here is you have this where you have even the open, you even have the open G and B, and you have this third fret with the pinky. And instead of just like putting them both down, what I do just to kind of make things really clear, put your ring finger here and make it like, cover up this high E, so you don't have a chance at all to make that come out, or else you'll have that interaction between the D note and the E, and you just want to like switch it like that between two fingers. And then from there we move on and slide over again, as like last time. I keep saying that, like just like last time, you want to kind of slide that position with the pinky down. Same thing how you play the other time as well. And instead of having that, you can hear the difference between that. I would just say you can just do that 1, 2 before the change. So keep that same bar idea. Switch it up, instead of minor, you want major. Pinky, bar the C and the F here, with the index on the B and the E strings. Just kind of let go, but keep this C with this first fret B with your index. So you kind of want to, well, for me, I just kind of roll my wrist to do that. Here, kind of slowed down, and all the alternate stuff kind of start having less of that rhythmic activity, and we just let it kind of chill out. We're just hitting like the melody notes now. Whoops, accidentally hit that E. And actually, here, I think when I looked at the tabs, I actually put out that there's a G here. I don't know why I barely did that now. I should have been doing that this whole time, but yeah. You have that G here now instead of just having this B. Same chord, now you just kind of fill it out with this lower G. To this C, and instead of strumming now, you just kind of want to aim for this lonely C. And then this open D, 2nd fret A. You're going to want to get ready to use your plucking position, basically playing the intro now. One variation added here with this 3rd fret E. I use my finger for that. And go to the 3rd fret B, then open E. Same as last time, except now you're instead of 2 notes, you just kind of let the loneliness seep in. You just have 1 note playing that rather slowly, and then you want that sliding all the way, basically until you get to the 1st fret or the nut. Strike open G. And then finish it off. And then finish it off with this, just hitting that C. You don't want that. Well, I wouldn't want that, just because I feel like this high E feels like it doesn't finalize the song as well as I prefer. But it doesn't really matter. It's the same chord, but personally, you want to cover that up. Still have this 1st fret, but cover up that high E. Just end it like that. Alright, so from here I'll be trying my best to get a good replication of what I did throughout that whole section, just to obviously give it another go, and hopefully by this point things are clear. And thanks for watching up until this point. I really appreciate it. It's my first time trying to do a lesson for the channel, and just test the water, see what I can do, and hopefully I can do more of these for different subjects, other covers that I've done, or just other things that I might find useful. Let me know what y'all think, and leave a like if at this point, if you've made it this far. I'd appreciate it. Let me know, give me some constructive criticism if you're someone that is finding this and has like a lot, some experience, or if you're trying to learn from this and it didn't make things clear. I'd really appreciate some feedback. Other than that, enjoy the last bit of this slowed down, and I'll see y'all next time. Even if I messed up, I'm gonna keep it in there. Alright, see y'all later. Bye.